So in this session, we are going to discuss Xpath in Selenium. So last time we have seen different type selectors in Selenium. So we have different type selector like ID selector, name selector, class name selector, link text selector, partial link text selector, CSS selector, and we have one selector that is a XPath. So using XPath, how we can locate an element. So XPath is a very important. So let's understand what the XPath. So XPath is nothing we can see the language that used when locating the elements. When we are going to locate an element, we can use XPath while we locating an element. So when you open any web page, you can check here. If you right click on a web page and you select inspect option, so you can inspect the element. And here, so suppose this is a web page, this web page having user ID element, password field, login button, sign in, sign up, yes, no? So here we can need to locate an element using XPath. So using XPath, how we can locate an element, let's understand. So XPath is a, we can say it's a language by which we can locate an element in a web page. So there are two kind of XPath. One is the absolute path and one is a relative path. If you are using absolute path, suppose this is a web page. In this web page, suppose you have one HTML element, yes, no? Under HTML, you have body element, yes, no? And now under body, suppose you have several element like div element you have suppose. And under div, suppose you have any paragraph element. And under, okay, suppose if you want to locate this paragraph element, if you are using absolute path in XPath, so in the case of absolute XPath, so from root element, we need to start the traversing to till that node that we want to traverse. So first of all, we need to go HTML, then within HTML body, and then from body we need to traverse div. From div we can reach to paragraph element. So when you're using XPath in absolute XPath, there are two kind of XPath. One is absolute, second one is a relative. In case of absolute, if you want to locate any element, so from root node to, we need to start to traversing till that node that we want to locate. So always you need to start the traversing from root element to till that node that you want to traverse in case of absolute path. In case of absolute path, we can say suppose we have two locations A and B. You need to go from A to B. So between A and B, we have several suppose places also. So, but whenever you want to go from A to B, so you need to start from root node to till that node that you want to traverse. So you need to traverse in hierarchical manner. Just like here, paragraph element available under div available under body available under HTML. So you need to start from HTML, then body, then div, then paragraph. So this is an absolute path. And now we have second path, relative path. But in case of absolute path, one more thing you need to understand. When we write the absolute path starts from //. Absolute XPath start from single //. Just like suppose we have one anchor element under list tag. So if you want to traverse, so first of all go to HTML. Within HTML we have body. Within a body we have div2 element, then div, then again div, then footer, then third section. From third section we have div. Under div we have UL. Then we have li. Third li. Within a third li we have this anchor tag element. Then you can select. So in XPath, you need to start traversing from root to that particular node that you want to traverse. So XPath, absolute XPath start with forward, single //. Then we have second relative path. So relative path is one of the approach where we path start from the node of your choice. What meaning of this line? Suppose you have any element, suppose like A element, under A we have B, under B we have suppose C, and under C we have D. So which element you want to locate? Suppose you want to locate D. So you're not required to start from the root node to till that node that you want to locate. You can start from anywhere as your per your choice. So in case of suppose I want to locate this element, so you can start directly, yes, no, forward slash. Okay, you can start from anywhere. Okay, I need to record which a node that nearer to C. So you're not required to traverse from root node to till that node that you want to locate. So relative XPath is a better choice because it helps to reduce the chance of the element not found exception. Why? Because if you try to locate element from the root node till that node, suppose if any one of the element is missed, then it will showing the element not found exception. But in case of relative XPath, you can start locating an element from anywhere as per your choice. So in that case, you 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 have less chance to get the element not found exception. The relative XPath start from double forward slash. So this is a way to write a relative XPath. So we are using relative path to locate an element in XPath because relative XPath is more efficient in compared to absolute path. Let's now we understand how we can use custom XPath to locating any web element. If you want to locate any web element using XPath, so what is the syntax? Let's understand syntax. So you can write double slash for double forward slash, and then you can write tag name, which element you want to locate. And then tag name, after tag name, you can write a square bracket, and here you can specify attribute, which element you want to allocate. Suppose I want to locate any particular element with given attribute value equal to something. So I want to locate which element, like suppose, let's understand here. Suppose in this web page, suppose we have this user ID field. I want to locate this input field. I want to locate. So input field tag name. What is that tag name? Slash input. I'm writing slash input. What means I want to locate which element? I want to locate input element. So there might be a chance in your web page you have more than one input element, but I need to locate which particular element. Suppose this particular element. So I want to locate, then we need to write down the square bracket, and then I want to locate that input element whose at the rate ID. Suppose here we have one ID attribute, each element having ID attribute, name attribute, any attribute that you want to use. So at the rate ID equal to, suppose ID value is a username. So now here we are writing XPath to locating this particular input element. Which input? This input element. So what is XPath? Slash input, double forward slash input. It means we want to locate that input element whose ID attribute value equal to username. Whose ID attribute value is a username. So in this way, you can use XPath to locate a web element. Let's now we try to understand how we can use XPath to locate a web element, different XPath to locate a web element. So let's now we open the browser here. You can check here, and you can open any URL, yes, no, any page. So suppose right now we are searching page like saucerdemo.com. So I open this web page. I want to locate this element using XPath. So how you can write locators using XPath? Right click on your web page. First of all, you can click on inspect. You can inspect your web element. And now here you need to write XPath. So one more thing, you can add one extension here if you want to check the XPath. So in your browser Chrome, in your Chrome browser, you can add one XPath. So here you can go to the you can click on three dot symbol. You can check here, and here you can search more tools. and you can go to the develop settings option. You can click on setting option. And now here we have extension. You can add one extension. Let's understand. You can click on extension. And now here we have web Chrome. You need to click Chrome Web Store. Click on Web Store. And need to click on extension. And here you need to search. Let's here we search in selector hubs. There is a one extension selector hub. You can add selector hubs extension in your Chrome. So let's add this selector hub. So what is the use of this extension? Let's understand. First we add this extension. Add this extension. So you can add selector hub extension in your Chrome browser. Now check here. One selector hub is added. Now it's added. You can check here. Selector hub extension is added. Now go to your page. Now refresh that web page. And now suppose if you want to locate any element, you can check. Suppose if you're selecting that element, and here, okay, I think you need to restart one more time browser. You can restart your browser, and again you need to open. You need to start the Chrome browser and you need to open. Now let's check here. Check here, extension is added or not added. So where you need to go? You need to go setting option. In the setting, you have here extension. Click on extension. Here you have option web Chrome. Click on Chrome Store. And here you can search selector hub. Which extension? Selectors hub. You have selector hub extension. You can check it. It is added. Now it's going removed from Chrome because you have added this extension. Let's say now you can open the page saucerdemo.com, and now right click and you can check here. If you right click, you can check here. You have showing selector hub. And now right click, you can click on inspect. First of all, inspect your page. Click on inspect. Now suppose I want to locate any particular element. Suppose which element? This element. So here you can check here. Here there is option style, computed layout, yes, no, and here properties. After properties, you can check here. Here selector hub option. You can select that selector hub. Now you can check here. This extension actually allowed to write. You can check here. You can check here this extension here. 1 minute. You can refresh the web page once again. Oh, breakout selector hubs. Accessibility. It's asking for upgrade, but you can check a console and you can start typing here. So now you can check here. Here you can write and verify your XPath to locating an element. So selector hub is the extension that helps to write XPath and allowed to verify whether your XPath is correct or wrong. So here, okay, suppose I want to locate which element? I want to locate that element, username field. So here you can write XPath. How you can write? double forward slash, and then which element I want to locate, input, and then square bracket. I want to locate that input element whose id attribute at the rate id equal to username, suppose username. So now you can check here, it will locating or not locating. Once you press enter, you can check here. So you can check here, if you want to check here, what is the id is user hyphen name. So you can copy that id. So you can check here, username, username. Now you can run and check here, press enter. So you can check here. Now it will locate that element. You can check it, highlight that element. So this is the XPath. Yes, no, using that XPath, we are able to write, yes, no, we are able to locate a web element that are available in your web page. So this is the syntax. Okay, suppose I want to locate which element, I want to locate this button element. Yes, no. So you can check here how we can locate. So okay, I want to locate that element, input element whose value attribute is equal to login. So how you can locate? Yes, no. You can write double slash input. You can write input and then square bracket. And now I want to locate which element at the rate, which attribute I want to locate input element with which attribute, value attribute, whose value attribute equal to login, whose value attribute value equal to login. So now if you press enter, you can check it. Now it will locate that web element. So you can check it, it will locate that web element. You can check it. Now it will select that web element. So this is a way to write a XPath, yes, no, to locate a web element. So this is the first way how we can write XPath to locate a web element. What is the syntax? So first of all, you need to write the tag name, slash tag name, and XPath, relative XPath start with forward, double forward slash, tag name, and then you can write a square bracket, and then you can write the tag name. Sorry, attribute. Yes, no, you want to locate a particular element with the which attribute. So you can specify that attribute and you can specify their value. So this is the way to locate a web element. This is a syntax to locate an element. So here we are using double slash, and after double slash we are writing tag name. Tag name is the name of particular node that you want to locate, and then you're writing at the rate. After at the rate you're writing the attribute name, and then you're writing in value. In the value you can specify that attribute value. So this is the way to locate a web element. So this is a basic syntax to locate any web element. And here, now second syntax we are understanding. In XPath, yes, when you're writing XPath, you can use the method also, like contains method. I want to locate, you can use contains method. What the contains method? Actually, it is a method that used in XPath expression when the value of any attribute changes dynamically. What meaning of this line? Let's understand how you can use contains method and where we need to use contain method. Let's try to understand. So now we open a browser. Now we understand another syntax. You can check here. Yes, no. So here you have seen, yes, no, how we can write XPath. Now in XPath, you can use contains method also. So when we need to use contains method, what the basic syntax that we have discussed? Basic syntax of the XPath, double slash, then tag name, then you can write tag name, then square bracket, and then you can write at the rate attribute, any attribute name equal to its value. You can specify that value. So in this way, you can locate a web element, or you can also use contains method. Let's understand how we need to use contains method and when we need to use. So let's now we open our browser. In this browser, I open URL. Let's now we open that URL. I open new URL, new web page. Let's understand. I'm opening this web page. I open this web page. In this web page, we have several elements. Yes, no? Now, here, if you check here, I want to locate all element. Suppose my requirement, I want to locate all element which contain text value, whose value contains value is a sub. Let's what is the requirement? First understand requirement. Suppose my requirement locate all element, yes no? Locate all element which locate all web element whose value attribute we can say whose value attribute contains partial text like sub. Partial text like sub. What means a partial text? Suppose we have text like a submit, yes no? So all the element, yes no, partial text means a part of the text, yes no? So this means I want to locate all the web element whose value attribute contain partial text value as a sub. I want to locate. So how you can locate? If you're writing Xpath, writing X //, if you want to locate any element whose value attribute contain partial text value as a sub. So for any element you can write asterisk. It means any asterisk means all element. But which all element? Whose attribute? Which attribute value? Suppose value attribute. Yes, no? Yeah, type attribute. Suppose we are using type attribute, not value attribute. Input type equal to submit. Type attribute value. What is the type attribute value? Submit. So sub. In this way, you try to write. Then what happened? So here, suppose we want to locate all elements whose type attribute contains sub. Actually, sub is the partial text. Yes or no? But here you can check here. Here you have input element. Okay, try to write this input element. You can check here. Are you able to locate any web element or not? Let's understand. Which web element I want to locate? I want to locate all web element. So // asterisk, we are writing asterisk. And then which element we want to whose attribute at the rate type attribute, we can say type attribute equal to value equal to sub. If writing sub, you can check it how many element is located. It's not locating any web element. You can check it locating any web element. You can check here. It's not able to locate any web element. How many element is matching? 0 element is matching. Yes, no? So in this way, you are not able to locate. So how we can overcome this problem? You can overcome this problem using contains method. In the Xpath, you can use contains method also. So I want to locate all web element // and asterisk and square bracket. Within a square bracket, I'm writing contains method. You can check contains method. Contains method. Okay. In the contains method, we can specify I need to locate all the web element whose type attribute. You can specify attribute name whose type attribute contains partial text value like sub. Partial text value like a sub. If you press enter, you can check here. Now one element is matched. Now if select that which element, you can see this element login button is selected. So contains method actually helps. You can check here. Contains method is used in Xpath writing an expression when the value of any attribute, yes, no, changes dynamically. It can allocate a web element with available partial text. So if you want to locate an element like, if we want to locate any element which contain this partial text, yeah, which attribute, yes, no, any attribute which contain this, just like here we're writing // input. I want to locate all those input elements whose name attribute contain this value, contains method. So there you can use contains method. Just like here also, I have shown to you, I want to locate all element whose type attribute is contain partial text value like sum. So you can check here how many element is available, only one element. You can check here one element is match. Now I want to locate all the element whose name attribute partially value contain btn. So how we can write? So here I want to locate all the web element slash slash asterisk, and now you can use contains method. Contains. In this method you can specify which attribute value at name attribute. Suppose name attribute value contains name attribute. What contains? Suppose contain btn. So I want to locate all those in elements whose name attribute contain partial text value as like a btn. You can check it. How many element is selecting? There are two element is matching. It means there are two element is available. You can check here. If you want to check here, you can click login button. You can check here. What the name attribute? btn submit, btn login. It means I want to locate all those elements whose name contain like btn. Yes, no? Here you can check here. Here name attribute is dynamically changes. Yes, no? So start with btn. Yes, no? It means contain btn. It means I need to locate all those elements whose name attribute contains partially value btn. So there you can use contains method. Contains method helpful. So locate all the element which name attribute contain partially text value as a btn. So here you can use Xpath to locate the element. Suppose I want to locate all element whose ID attribute value is a message. How you can write to locate an element? Xpath // asterisk. I want to locate all the element which ID attribute contain message value. So you can use contains method, and here you can pass the attribute. Which attribute? ID attribute value. What is the ID attribute value? Message. So I want to locate all those input element whose ID attribute contain message value. Now here you can check. These are two input element are matching. This one and this one. You can check here. This one and this one. These two input element is selected. So contain method is very helpful. And now in the contain method, you can use text method also. Okay, let's check here one more thing. Here you can check here. You can use contains method. Contains method also you can check here. And in the contains method, one more thing you can use. You can check here. Here we have text method. Let's understand what is the use of text method. Suppose I want to contain all input element which contain text here. Suppose what the requirement? I need to locate all the web element whose text, yes, no, contain something like here. So how you can write? Okay. So if you want to locate an element by using their text, yes, no. So all elements / asterisk. Now I'm using contains method. Contains. Okay, one more thing I will show before contains. You can check here. Suppose you can check here any input element whose text value you want to check. I want to check this input element. So what is the text value? S2 element. S2 element is a Guru 99 bank. I want to locate element using that text. So how we can locate? Okay, let's understand. So I want to write a Xpath. So // yes, no, I want to locate which H2 element. I want to locate H2. So which H2 element? So which contain text? So here we have one method text. So you can use text function, text equal to. Remove that, again write down // I want to locate all elements. Suppose here H2 element. I want to locate an H2 element whose Here we have function text function. You can use text function. Text function whose text value equal to, suppose whose text value guru 99. If you press enter, you can check here how many element is selected. One. So text method, what does actually? Text method used to get the text of an element. So suppose if you give partial text, only I'm writing guru 99, then you can check here. It's not selecting any element. Yes, no? Because it is not selecting with partial text. It will selecting exact text. What the exact text? There is any element whose exact text value is guru 99. There is no web element available in your web page with exact text value guru 99. That's why zero element is selected. So here I want to select suppose any element, yes or no, with partial text, yes or no also. So what you can do, here you can use contains method. So slash slash, I want to select all element, suppose who, and now here we are using contains method, contains. Now in the contains method, I'm calling the text method. Text method return the text of that web element, yes, no. It will selecting the text of that web element, yes, no. And now which text? I'm just passing the here, suppose. So what happened? Now it will selecting, yes, no, all web element which whose text partially contains here value. So if you press enter, you can check here. So there is no web element here still. So suppose I'm passing here just like guru. Now you can check it. Now it's selecting 3 elements. Yes, no. So all these elements is selecting whose text partially contain guru value. So here you can use text method. Yes, no. Using text function, you can check here. Using text function, yes, no. You can check here. What is the syntax? Let's now once recap we. If you want to Xpath, first of all write down tag name. If you want to specify any tag name, then you can select any element by specify their attribute, and now then you can specify their value. This is a one way. And now you can use Xpath using contains method. Contains method used to, yes, no, select any element, yes, no, which contains any attribute partially value, yes, no, just like contains. Here you can pass contains. I'm specify attribute, yes, no, which attribute? You can specify attribute value, yes, no, at the rate attribute, yes, no, and now which contains particular value. You can specify value. It means now it will selecting all those elements whose attribute contains corresponding value. So you can use contains method. And here you can write slash slash tag name, yes, no, tag name. And now here you can use text function. Now you are selecting an element which contains corresponding text like something example here, yes, no. So you can use text method also. I want to select all input element. Let's now whose href attribute like guru99.com. So let's how we can write a selector using Xpath. So I want to select all input, all in element. So slash slash asterisk, and then I'm writing a square bracket. And now what contain? Whose attribute value? So contains, here we can use contains at method. Now which attribute? href attribute contain partially what value? Contain partially value, suppose guru99.com. And now press enter. Now you can check here how many element is selecting. Now it's selecting 24 elements. It's been 24 element matching this. So now it's selecting 24 elements. So you can use in this way write a Xpath to locating a web element. So here we have discussed how we can write Xpath to, yes sir, writing that how you can write Xpath to locating a web element. So we have discussed normal syntax and contains method, and sometimes there might be chance you need to locate an element by combining more than one attribute. If you want to locate an element by combining more than one attribute, so here you can use R and operator also by combining more than one element. So let's suppose what is I want to write an XPath to locate an element. So how you can write? You can write tag name, and then after tag name, so you can specify in first attribute suppose attribute one, attribute one equal to, you can specify value one suppose, and if you want to combine the more than one attribute value, and then you can specify attribute 2 equal to, you can specify value of that attribute. So what meaning it means? Here you are selecting that element whose attribute 1 and attribute value is match. If both attribute values matches, then it will selecting that particular element. Let's understand. You can use and or R. If you are using R, it means if in place of and, if you are using R, it means it's selecting all that specify element whose attribute 1 या attribute 1 of them values matches, then it will locate all those elements. In case of and, both attribute values matches, then it will selecting. In case of R, one of them attribute values matching, then it will selecting that element. So here in this XPath, you can check here. Here we have selected how many elements right now? Here we have selecting 24 element. How many element we are selecting? 24 using this path. But sometimes here, how many attribute you have used? One attribute. Sometimes what we need to do? Suppose we need to select, we need to locate element by combining more than one attribute. Just like here, check here. If you're writing XPath / and I want to locate an input element, suppose input element whose type attribute value equal to submit, suppose. So you can specify type attribute equal to single quote, you can write submit. Yes, no? So it means it will locate which element? It will locate that element whose type attribute value equal to submit. How many element is locating? Only one element. But sometimes what we need to do, I need to locate the element by combining more than one attribute. So there you can use, here you can check in XPath you can use R and operator also. In XPath you can use R and. So you can write in this way, you can check it. / suppose here we are writing input. I want to locate all the input element whose type attribute value submit R and name attribute is button submit. It means it can select any input element whose type attribute value either submit or button submit. In case of here, you can use and also, yes, no, by combining more than one attribute. It means it's selecting all input element whose type attribute and name attribute both are matched. Let's now we try to write a XPath here. So suppose I want to locate all this input element whose type attribute value submit and name attribute is btn login. So how you can write / input, and now input, and now what is the type attribute? @ you can write type attribute equal to type attribute value. Suppose I'm writing submit, and now next attribute I'm using name attribute @ name attribute value equal to single quote, now btn login. So now check here, if you press enter, you can check it. Now it will selecting one element. One element is match. So it means with how many elements selected? One element. Because here you can check here. Here you are using and operator. Here you are checking both more than one attribute. And or you can use here R also. If you are using R, you can check here. So how many element is matched? Only one is there is element still. So it will return one element. So you can use here, what you can use? You can use and R operator also. You can combine. Let's understand one more function in XPath you can use. Check here. You can use start with function also. Start with function. What that actually sometimes, suppose what happened, you have several elements, suppose whose ID, suppose we have multiple paragraph element. Yeah, suppose any element, suppose whose ID start with mass, like in this way, message 1 2, yes no, message 1 2, like in this way start. Now we have another element whose ID also start with 1 2 3, yes no, another element whose ID start 1 2 3 4, and one more element 1 2 3 4 5. So we have a, so initially you can check here, every element ID is a different, but every element ID start with message, yes no, this is a prefix, yes no. So I want to locate, suppose, all element whose ID value start with message. So how many element is locating? All element we need to locate. So if you are, how you can locate? Yes, no. We need to locate all those element whose ID value is started with message. So for that you can use start with function. So this function used to find a web element whose value of attribute changes on the refresh or any dynamic operation on the web page. So we can match the starting text of the attribute is used to locate a web element. If you want to locate an element by matching the starting text of the attribute, then you can use which method? Start with method. Let's understand how we can use start with method to locate a web element. So go to the yes no browser, and here you need to write yes no Xpath to locate all label element whose ID start with message. So which element we need to locate? All the label elements. So I'm writing a / label / tag name is a label. And now here we are using starts with function. Which function? Starts, you can check start with start hyphen with start with, and now which attribute value? Suppose ID @ID attribute value start with message. So I'm writing message. So now if you press enter, you can check here how many element is selected. Is selecting 2 elements. So you can check there are 2 element is selecting. You can check here if you want to check their ID. You can check here. What is the ID? You can check it. Message 23. Yes, you know. Start with message. Yes, no. And now its ID you can check here. You can check it. I also ID start message something. So in this way you can write. Yes, you can. Start with function you can use. So start with function is used for finding web element whose attribute value gets changed on refresh or by other dynamic operation on the web page. So in this method, starting text of the attribute is matched. Yes, no? If you want to find the element by matching the starting text of any attribute, then you can use start with attribute. Start with method. So this is a start with method. And here we have discussed text method also. Yes, no. So if you want to locate an element by matching their text, so you can locate a web element by matching their text also. Suppose I want to locate all the TD elements. Yes, no, whose text value is like user ID. So text, if you want to locate an element by using text, so you can use text function. Now text value like user ID. So you can check here how many element is located. You can check here it's locating 1 element. So this is a way, yes, no, you can use to write an XPath. I hope it's clear what we have discussed, how we can write an XPath and what is the XPath. Thank you.